Hi, and welcome back to my channel where we talk about all things of the spiritual journey, spiritual awakening, so you can step into being your authentic self and living in your purpose. Today, I want to talk about, we've been talking about our self-love journey, and it's Leo season. We want to step into our like self-love type of energy, like it's all about me. But the thing about self-love is that you have to understand why you don't do it if you don't do it, okay? There's always going to be a shadow part to everything. For me, I never really gave myself a lot of self-love, and I did not know that until I embarked on my spiritual journey. My spiritual journey was what helped me see the parts of me that was holding me back from my ultimate potential, about my ultimate fulfillment in life. And so for me, it is very important to talk about the shadow parts of why you do not love yourself, why you have a hard time showing up for yourself, why do you feel blockage when it's time for you to show yourself love. For me, I did not know that I was constantly seeking self-love outside of myself. And a lot of the reasons why most of us do this, like if you grew up with self-love, that's amazing. But what I have seen is that a lot of people don't have self-love. Maybe they think that they do. I'll give you an example. For example, I thought I actually, would get cute and dress up nice for myself. And I feel like I would even say that. But a lot of the times I was not doing that because I realized that when I was not going outside to go be seen, I did not dress up for myself ever. So that's something that I learned that I was doing for other people's validation, for other people's compliments, for other people's eyes to see me and then say, oh yeah, you look good. Instead of me doing it for myself and saying, I know I look good. That's why I'm doing it. So a lot of the things that we do that may look like self-love is probably something that we've been conditioned to do. And the reason why I use the looking good example is because we have a lot of constructs on what beauty looks like to society. And this one is a very big one because people are constantly surrounding their definition of beauty based on what society has now said beauty looks like. For example, beauty now looks like having a big butt, big boobs, small waist, and Botox, lipo, all these things, hair extensions, all of these things that now society has said is beautiful. So some people might feel like they are not up to the standards because they're not meeting society standards. But what self-love teaches you is about what are your standards to what beauty means to you. How do you feel the most beautiful? Forget about what society has to say. It's not about them because they're just listening to what someone else told them what beauty is. But you have the power to also say what beauty means to you. And so this is the shadow parts about self-love that we don't really talk about. There's so many things that will block you from expressing self-love towards yourself. We have a lot of society expectations. It could be trauma that you've experienced either in relationships or even in family, where they have told you things like, no, you should do this. This is what we want you to do. And they may dismiss things that you actually want to do that makes you feel connected to who you are. And they are dismissing those part of you that which will then make you feel less than or not worthy or not good enough to make your parents love you. So when you're experiencing things like that, that could feel like a sign of neglect from your family, which is very hurtful because if you feel neglect from your family, that can trickle down and you can start thinking that, oh, if my parents are neglecting me, who else will accept me? And this is what also helps you, doesn't help you to love yourself, because the people that love you the most, your parents, are neglecting the very part of you that makes you you. So now you don't see the worthiness in that. A lot of creatives deal with this. There's a lot of things about how you talk to yourself, limiting beliefs, patterns of how you think you're supposed to be that stops you from accepting yourself. There's so many things that could be blocking you from stepping into your self-love. And it's important to talk about that before you step on to a self-love journey, because there's always a reason why you're not doing it. And to move forward, to actually start to do the things and believe the things that you want to believe about yourself, that you are good enough, that you're valuable, that you're accepting and worthy of love from yourself and other people, you have to recognize the parts of you that has been shut down to not receiving the love, the parts of you that you have abandoned from things that you have learned from outside of yourself. There's so many things that literally could affect how you show up for yourself. So one thing is to realize those things, to realize what could it be that stops me. And you can sit down and take the time to think about it. Because one thing about it, when you're learning to have self-love for yourself, you have to make room for what you feel. That's a very important role in learning how to give yourself self-love. Taking the time to actually sit with your feelings, because a lot of us dismiss what we're feeling, which will then not allow us to get to the root of the problem, because we're never spending time trying to think about it. Because we might feel guilty, we might feel ashamed, we might feel embarrassed of how we are afraid to see what we actually think about ourselves. You know, we don't want to go in and open that door of judgment. It's something that's very hard, but this work is going to be hard sometimes, because it's about to bring you and open the doors to the inner fulfillment, to the inner authenticity, to the most abundant form of love that you could ever receive, which is from yourself. So it will feel uncomfortable to do that, to sit there and actually acknowledge the things that you feel. Trust me, when I was going down this rabbit hole of trying to figure out like why I don't love myself, I was so ashamed of how I actually felt. Like when I started to hear my thoughts of what I was thinking, of I'm not good enough, or if I don't do things perfect, because I've said this before, but I suffer from perfectionism, and that's because I feel like I need to do better, more than better, to be worthy, to be seen, to be acknowledged. That was my trauma growing up. Like I wasn't getting enough attention, so I felt like I had to do beyond expectations to receive even a, oh, you're here. So for me, it was very challenging. But when you're doing the self-love work, you also acknowledge to give yourself compassion and say things like, I didn't know any better. It's okay. I'm learning now. Because it is going to feel uncomfortable, but you also have to be there for yourself when it's uncomfortable. You have to be kind and patient and nurturing to your own self when things are uncomfortable for you, because this is a part of self-love. This is how you show up for yourself in all of the ways that maybe other people outside of you have not. And that's the journey about self-love, is that you are learning all the ways that you weren't supported, so you can now be there for yourself. It's almost like reparenting yourself. Like you're reparenting your inner child, because a lot of the things that we endure come from our, younger upbringing, when we were young, and how our parents spoke to us, how society talked to us, how we were probably picked on in school. These things stay with us, and they just stay in the subconscious mind. So you're not actively thinking about it. It's not in the front of your head, but it is most definitely in the back of your head. And now you have these belief systems about yourself that you're not good enough unless you do X, Y, and Z. You're not good enough unless you look a certain way. You're not good enough unless you're making a certain amount of money. You're not good enough unless you're working a certain job. You're not good enough if your talent isn't this to this level. It's so much pressure that you put onto yourself when you're good enough just as you are. You know why? Because there's nobody else in this entire world like you. That's what makes you good enough. Because you're here. That's what makes you good enough. Because you're living. You're alive. You have the capabilities. You can change and you can do whatever it is that you want in this lifetime. You just have to see that. And when you start seeing that, you start opening that door to that self-love, to that self-respect, to that self-value. Okay? So what would be super helpful to even embark and open that door, if you really want to open the door to your self-love journey, look at the shadows first. Because that's what's really going to show you what you have been ignoring or not seeing this entire time about how you think about yourself. What do you think about your talents and abilities? What do you think about your job? What do you think about your looks? What do you think about when you think about how people view you? What do you see when you see you? Are you saying nice things first? Or are you criticizing and saying that you're not enough first? Oh, I have nice lips, but they could be bigger. Oh, I'm talented, but no one knows. Oh, I like my job, but it's not fame and I want to be seen. What is it that you think about yourself? Because then when you see, you will start to see how you actually feel about yourself and why you don't have the things that you want in your life, why you feel less than. And then when you feel less than, you will show that. You will show that in the world. People won't pick you. People won't give you attention because you don't give yourself attention. You don't see yourself in that light. So what makes you think that other people will? You're waiting for somebody else to see what you're supposed to be seeing within yourself. I know it fucking sucks. But I promise you, the more that you show up for yourself, people will see it. Oh, that woman, she respects herself. Like, I'm not about to play with her, you know? I like to use this example because it's such a good one. When you go to somebody's house and their house is spotless, freaking clean, and you see how nice and organized and tidy their house is, you're not about to walk in their house with your shoes on. You are gonna automatically know, without them even having to tell you, to take your fucking shoes off. Because this house looks like I don't be walking around with my shoes on, right? If your house is dirty, I'm gonna walk around with my shoes on. I'm gonna leave the food on the table. I'm not gonna clean after myself. And I'm gonna leave and think that it was okay because you did that in your own house. So why would I do that for you if you don't do it for you? Why would I do that? I'm not going to. And so this is how people treat you. When they see that you don't show up for yourself, when they see that you don't have no boundaries, when they see that you don't stick up for yourself, they won't do it for you either. And that's why we have to learn the shadow parts. What parts of me do I not show up enough for myself? So that is my talk for the day. Honestly, I could talk about the shadow parts of everything because it's the most important things of seeing what you really believe about yourself. And it's the gateway, it's the door to now seeing yourself from a wider speck of lens and be compassionate. Like, okay, I understand why I'm this way. I'm aware of it now. Now, how do I fix this? How do I heal from this? Because it's possible. It's possible to change it. But when you don't know, you can't. So you have to know what you have to change. And that's it. That's all I want to say for today. I hope that everybody has a really blessed day. I hope that you know that you're that girl. I hope that you know and remind yourself every single day that you can do whatever the fuck you want in this life, that you could be whoever you want in this life, and no one is in your way. You can do whatever because you are a powerhouse of your life and reality, okay? Don't forget it. Have a good day. Bye.